So in the previous class, we have completed the chapter 12, that is current electricity, right? Is there any doubt from that chapter? I believe everybody has written a test also. Is there any doubt from that particular chapter or from the test paper? So everything is clear, right? Okay. So today's class I am going to start with the 10th chapter. Okay, that is light. See, before I start, I would like to tell you one important point. If there is any other topic that is going in your school other than this, okay, other than what we are teaching here, let it be for any subject. If any other topic is going in your school other than what we are teaching here, you please bring it to our notice so that we will give you some recordings or something to help you cope up with the school exams also. See, according to the current situation, we are not sure of how things are going to be in the future. So I want to ensure that your school exams are also done properly. Let's not take it for granted. We will make sure that your school exam is also good. At the same time, you have knowledge about the other chapters as well. Am I clear with this? So I hope everybody has the student support number, right? So everybody has the student support number. You please ensure it is utilized to the maximum extent possible. Please do not hesitate. We are here only to help you. So don't feel bad or something like that. Don't have any kind of hesitation that I'm going to say something, nothing. Okay, it is for you guys. And please make sure that things are utilized to the maximum extent. Right? So with the belief that you will make use, let's get started with the 10th chapter. That is light and its properties. That is the property of it to get reflected and refracted. It is a slightly big chapter and it has more problems. The reason why I am teaching this chapter is because there are two chapters which have a lot of problems. One is current electricity and the second is this chapter. So if you're clear with the problems in these two chapters, the remaining three chapters are very easy. We can complete it in no time. Okay? So try to give your 100% attention. Ensure you clear your doubts before I proceed to the subsequent topics. Okay? Shall I get started? Shall we get started?
Yes, sir.
Right. Good. So please make a note in your notes. So have a notebook. Ensure you're writing it along with me. So the name of the chapter is light, and we are going to see the two important properties of it. That is the reflection and refraction of light. Okay. So before we see the properties of it, first we need to understand what light means. Can someone tell me what light means? So what is light? 1 minute. Okay. So who can tell me what is light? Okay. Let's put the question in a different way. Can someone tell me what are the uses or benefits of having something called as light? Why do we need light in the first place? It's a very basic question. Everybody knows this. What will happen if that is not there? What would have happened if there was no light present in this nature? We can see clearly if light is there. That's it. So we cannot see the objects. That's right. So I got two answers. We can clearly see the objects, and one student told me that we cannot see the objects. Just a minute. So what exactly happens? How are you able to see a particular object? So on a particular object, you have a source of light which is falling on it, and what is happening to that light? It is getting reflected so that it reaches your eyes and it falls on your retina, due to which you are able to see the objects and its colors. Right? So that is what they are trying to say. We see variety of objects in the world around us. However, we are unable to see anything in dark room. On lighting up the room, things are visible. So what makes things visible? That's the question. So during the daytime, what happens is sunlight helps us see the object. So how is it able to help us? You have sun here, and you have an object which you are able to see. So the rays from the sun are falling on that object and they get reflected back, due to which you are able, so they get reflected back to your eyes or reflected towards your eyes, so that you are able to see a particular object and a color associated with it. Right? So this is a very, very basic thing. But if I have to get into a more technical detail of what exactly light is, I'll just give you an introduction of that name. Please make a note of it. Please make a note of it. Write it down. Light is an electromagnetic wave. Okay. If you have to go on a deeper analysis and understand what it is, I'm not going to get into the details of what is an electromagnetic wave. Somebody asks you, well, light is an electromagnetic wave. Okay. Second important point is, it has a speed of 3 into 10 power 8 meters per second in vacuum and air medium. Okay, this is the second important point. And this is the maximum speed that is possible by any object. Okay. Next. So having these two important points in mind, the thing that we are going to concentrate in this chapter is, what are all the phenomenon means something that you can see. So what are all the phenomena that are associated with light? So if I talk about the phenomenon exhibited by light, it exhibits two important phenomena. What is it? One is called reflection and the second is called as refraction. Okay. So in the first part, we are going to see what is reflection and what kind of objects possess the phenomenon of reflecting light, and what are all the laws and the mathematical equations associated with it. That's what we are going to concentrate on. Okay. So can someone tell me, what is the basic definition of reflection? When can you say something is reflected back? You can try it and put it in your own words. Tell me.
When we see an object on a plane mirror or something like that.
Plane mirror or something. I'm asking, see, plane mirror is an object or something. Like, you try to define what is reflection. See, for example, I have a ball in my hand. If I hit the ball against the wall, okay, if I throw the ball against the wall, after hitting the wall, what will happen to the ball?
Bounces off.
It bounces back, right? Right? It bounces back depending on at what angle it is going and hitting the wall. For example, if the wall is like this, if the ball goes and hits the wall in this angle, it will reflect back exactly in this direction. Sometimes if the ball comes and hits it like this, there is a possibility to go in this direction. Okay? So when it is coming in this direction, it will go in the other direction. So why is all these things happening? Because the ball is being pushed back, the force is being applied on it. In a similar way, here we don't speak about force or something. If I talk about a ray of light which is falling on a surface, okay, ray of light is falling on a surface, if it is able to bounce back, okay, if it is able to bounce back following certain conditions, then that kind of a phenomenon is what is called as reflection. So if I have to put down what is reflection, this is the definition. So bouncing back of light under what scenario? When it strikes a smooth and a shiny surface. So this kind of a phenomenon is what we call it as a reflection. Okay. So this is the basic definition, guys. Right. So with the hope that you're clear with what is the definition, let's see the other important points. That is the Loss of reflection. So before I speak about the loss of reflection, I need to speak about two important terms. 1 minute. One is called as the incident ray.
Sir, what is phenomena, sir?
What is?
So what is phenomenon, sir?
Phenomenon means something that you can see. Something
Okay,
that
sir.
you can feel. This you can see and feel, right? That's why it's called a phenomenon.
Okay, sir.
Incident ray, reflected ray, and you have incident angle or angle of incidence. Both mean the same, which is generally represented by the symbol small I, and reflected angle or angle of reflection, which is generally represented with the symbol smaller. Okay, so what is an incident ray? A ray which is traveling towards the reflecting surface is called an incident ray because it is traveling towards the reflecting surface. Then what is a reflected ray? A ray which has bounced back from the reflecting surface. Okay, a ray which has bounced back from the reflecting surface is what we call it as the reflected ray. Then what is the incident angle or angle of incidence?
Sir, the angle between the incident ray and normal.
Very good. So for that I need to explain what the normal is. Suppose I have a plane surface, okay, and the plane surface is smooth and shiny, means it is polished enough. Generally, a straight line with these kind of zigzag things is what we call it as a plane mirror. I hope you would have learned this in your 8th grade, right? So you talk about a ray which is traveling towards the mirror. So can I call this as an incident ray?
Yes, sir.
No, I cannot, because I didn't put an arrow mark. This is the most common mistake which people do. They'll put the line, they'll forget to put the arrow mark, because here we are going to deal with rays. That is why this chapter is also called as ray optics, which you will learn in your higher class. Okay. So when it is going and hitting the surface, I will call this as the incident ray. At the point of incidence, okay, whenever you are drawing something called as a ray diagram, at the point of incidence, our job is always to draw a normal to the surface. When I say normal, normal means perpendicular. We need to draw a normal at the surface, and if you are able to define the angle between the incident ray and the normal, that is what we call it as the angle of incidence. Seriya? So it is the angle between whom? Incident ray and normal to the surface. Okay. Then what do you think will be reflected ray? It is the angle between reflected angle. It is the angle between
Reflected ray and normal.
as simple as that. Reflected ray and normal, right? So the light is going to get reflected back in this direction. This is what we call it as reflected ray, and angle of reflection you can represent it with the symbol R. Okay, I hope you're clear with this point, right? So based on this, I'm going to define something called as the loss of reflection. Please make a note of this. This is a very, very important point. Because you'll be drawing something called as ray diagram. All the ray diagrams are based on this particular law only. Okay, and your assertion, reason questions can be framed based on this law. They can confuse you a lot. So you need to have a crystal clear understanding of what it is. Let me get started. Anybody who knows already? The first point is like this. Incident ray, reflected ray, and normal all lie in the same plane. So incident ray, reflected ray, and the normal all lie in the same plane. Okay, I'll explain what it is. Second, angle of incidence is equal to the angle of reflection. Okay, so these laws, this law particular has a derivation associated with it. You can prove it, but your current knowledge is not sufficient, so you'll be learning about this derivation in 12th standard. Okay, so because I told you what is light. Light is an electromagnetic wave, right? You need to understand all the wave nature and everything. By that time, you will have the maturity to understand it. As of now, you can just accept this loss. Okay, let me explain what exactly does the first point mean. See, how are you able to see this? What shape does it take?
Rectangle.
It's a rectangle, right? If I take the rectangle and turn it like this, if I ask you to observe the surface, then what shape does it take? This part alone.
Sir, can I repeat again, sir?
So when you see it like this, you are able to see it as a straight line. Whereas when you see it like this,
It's a straight line, sir.
you're able to see it like a straight line, right? So if I keep something like this, then first I need to explain what is a plane. Okay. So can you guys tell me what is a plane? So if I have a reflecting surface like this, okay, let's say I have this book. This book is a reflecting surface. So I have an incident ray hitting the surface like this. Okay, then what will happen? This ray will come and hit it like this so that it will get reflected in this way. So understand, it will come and hit like this so that it is reflected in this way, right? So this is the incident ray and this is the reflected ray. Okay, Vada? So
Yes,
I'm trying to visualize it in a different way. Observe. If I take this as the incident ray, then what do I mean by plane in the first place? See, there are three things to be understood. One is a line, second is a plane, and third is space. Okay, so what do you mean by line? Yes, any surface can be said as a plane. That's right. So what is line? Line is a one-dimensional shape that does not have any starting or ending. It will get extended infinitely in both the directions. Then what is a plane? What is a plane? In your lower grade, you would have learned about this thing. You have x-axis and y-axis. This x-axis and y-axis collectively, if I am able to fill a rectangle box here, then I can call this rectangular box as xy plane. Guys, are you able to understand this? So I'll
Yes,
call this
yes, sir.
as xy plane. Similarly, now I want you to visualize this, a concept beyond your standard only, but try to understand. Okay. So this is x-axis, this is y-axis. I can call this as z-axis. You're able to see something like this.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if I take a paper and cover the x and the y-axis, I will call that as xy plane. If I take the same paper and I cover the y and the z-axis, what plane can I call it as? If I cover x and y axis, I call it as xy plane. If I cover y and z, then it can be called as
YZ plane.
yz plane. If I take, similarly, if I take the x and the z axis and cover it,
XZ plane.
I call it as xz plane. So, depending on which two axes are getting involved, the planes are basically classified into three types: xy, yz, or xz. Suppose I take this book again. If I take this as x-axis, this as y-axis, okay? If I take this as x-axis and this as y-axis, this incident ray which I have placed here is in which plane?
XZ plane.
X-axis, Y-axis.
XY plane.
XY plane. So according to the first law, the reflected ray should also be in the XY plane. It should not be something like this or something like this. You're able to visualize it?
Yes, sir.
So if the incident ray is confined to the XY plane, the reflected ray also should be confined to the same XY plane. They're trying to say when the light is hitting like this, it will not get reflected in this way. Guys, are you able to visualize it?
Yes,
That is
sir.
the meaning.
Yes, sir.
That is the meaning of incident ray, reflected ray, and the normal all lie in the same plane. Very good. Okay. So the first point is clear. Second point is nothing. It's very simple. So if I take this ray as the incident ray, then always at the point of incidence. What do I mean by point of incidence? Wherever the incident ray is hitting the surface, I call it as the point of incidence. At that place, you need to draw a normal and define the angle between the incident ray and the normal as I. Then the reflected ray will be in such a way that this angle is going to be R, so that angle I is equal to angle R always. It need not be applicable only for a plane mirror. It is applicable even for something called as spherical mirrors, which we will be learning in the future. Sharia, am I clear?
Yes, sir.
If you're clear with this
Yes, sir.
concept, I'll proceed. I'll proceed to the next part. That is the image formed by a plane mirror. Okay? Image formed by a plane mirror. You know what is a plane mirror, right? So daily we see our face, comb our hair, everything we do in front of a mirror, which is nothing but a plane mirror. So when you stand in front of a flat mirror, how are you able to see yourself? If you lift your right hand, what will you actually see on the mirror?
Left side, sir.
You will see something called it will be as if your left hand is being lifted. When you lift your right hand, you will be able to see the right hand, left hand, you will be able to see the right hand in the mirror, right? So this kind of a phenomenon has a name. What that name is, I will tell at the end. Now first, I want to understand how is that plane mirror able to form the image of us? How is it able to show? See, all these things are not there in the textbook, but they are very, very important. The thing I am going to explain you is not there in the textbook, but it is important. Listen. So, I take a floor like this, okay? Let's say there is a surface, let's say there is your bed, you're standing on top of it, and the plane mirror is like this, okay? Let's say you are standing in front of the plane mirror, and your height is taken to be the distance between the points A and B, okay? So, this is called as the object. Now, we are going to draw something called as a ray diagram. The reason why we call it as a ray diagram is because we are going to take the help of rays. You know what is a ray? Ray is something which has a starting point but no ending point. We are going to take the help of a ray to locate the image of this particular object. Okay? So, for any ray diagram, the thumb rule is minimum rays required to locate the image is 2. So the minimum number of rays that you need are 2 to locate the image. Okay, when I say minimum rays, I am talking about 2 incident rays and 2 reflected rays. So yeah, shall we get started? Listen. So I will take one incident ray from the surface exactly parallel to the bed on which you are standing. Okay, I take it parallel to the bed. So, in this case, can someone tell me what is the angle of incidence?
$90, sir.
Sorry?
90 degrees, sir.
So, When the ray is taken parallel to the principal axis, the angle of incidence is how much?
90 degree.
But it is wrong. This is the most common mistake. Very, very common mistake. Okay. Now I'm going to tell you a tricky part. I want everybody to write it down. See, this incident ray, I'm repeating it. The incident ray from the A, which is parallel to the horizontal surface, is hitting the plane mirror normally. Accepted? Normally means perpendicular. So this horizontal ray is perpendicular to this. So whenever there is an incident ray which is hitting normal to the surface, angle of incidence is not 90 degrees, rather it is, can you correct yourself now?
0, sir.
It is 0 degrees. Why? Because
Sir, because angle of incidence and normal are same, sir.
very good. Because here the incident ray itself is acting like normal, no? So when they both are same, the angle between the same lines is 0 degrees. That is the reason. Okay. So angle of incidence is 0 degrees means the ray is perpendicular to the surface. See, these two statements mean the same. Please make an important note. In the assertion and reason, they can ask this question and confuse you. Please be very careful. Whenever they say the ray is hitting perpendicular to the surface, the angle of incidence is always 0. Don't get carried away by perpendicular. Perpendicular doesn't mean 90 degrees. Sharia? So, according to the laws of reflection, if the angle of incidence is 0 degrees, what will be the angle of reflection?
0 degree.
0 degrees. So, it will retrace its path. Means the incident ray, the normal and the reflected ray, all the three lie on the same straight line. Sharia? Next, if I take a ray which is hitting the surface here, then if I take this as the angle of incidence, what you can do is you can take a protractor and exactly with this normal, see, observe this dotted line is the normal at the point of incidence because it is perpendicular to the surface. So with respect to the normal, measure the same angle I and draw the reflected ray. Okay. Now, what did I say? For you to draw a ray diagram, for you to locate the image, you need two rays. You have already taken two rays. One incident ray and the second incident ray. First reflected ray and the second reflected ray. With the dash on the top, I am calling it as reflected ray. Right? So, if the reflected rays meet each other, I am repeating it, if the reflected rays meet each other, then the image is formed on the same side of the object. Please make a note of this. If the reflected rays meet each other, then the image is formed on the same side as that of the object. For what? For a mirror. But in this case, what is happening? The reflected rays are moving away from each other. One reflected ray is like this and the other is going in this way. So one is going in this way, the other is going in this way. Is there a possibility for these two to meet?
No,
So
sir.
it is traveling like this is traveling like this. Is there a possibility for them to meet? The answer is no. Right? So in this kind of a scenario, what we are supposed to do is, you need to extend the reflected ray in the backward direction of the mirror. And since this does not happen, this is something called as virtual. Okay? And extend the other reflected ray also in the backward direction so that virtually both these reflected rays tend to meet at a point. I will label it as A dash so that you can say that the image is formed here. And this kind of an image is called as the virtual image. Guys, are you able to understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Basically, there are two types of images that can be formed. One is called as real image and the second is called as unreal or technically called as virtual image. So when will you have a real image formed with respect to a mirror? If both the reflected rays
Intersect each other.
meet. So the technical name for meeting is called as converging. If they move towards each other, if both the reflected rays move towards each other, the rays are said to get converged. Rays are said to get converged. That is, this one and this one are said to be converging rays. So converging rays will always form real image. If they go away like this, then these are called as diverging rays, and diverging rays will always form virtual image. Please have this in your mind. Okay. See, I'm explaining all these things in detail, only keeping the assertion reason in your mind. I don't want you to lose even 1 mark. Okay. Clear, guys? Am I clear with this point? So, if I have to report the nature, if I have to report the nature of the image formed by a plane mirror, what will you say? First, it forms, when I say nature of the image, who can complete it? Nature of image by plane mirror. Anybody? First, it forms a virtual image. Second, at what distance is it forming? At the same distance as the object from the mirror. And third, if I ask you what is the size of the image in comparison to the size of the object, what will you say, guys? Look at the diagram and tell me. If AB is the size of the object and A dash B dash the size of the image, it is same. Okay. So, same size as that of object, and when you try to measure the ratio of the size of the image and the size of the object, we call it as magnification. As of now, accept this term. Magnification is equal to 1. Have this in your mind. Seriya?
Yes, sir.
These are the important points. And I told you about this thing, no? When you stand and see, for example, here also, if I'm able to see myself in this, no? I'm actually lifting my right hand, but I see as if my left hand is being lifted. That's what the camera is showing me. Okay? I don't know how you people are able to see it. So I'm able to see my left hand. So what is the name of this kind of a magnification? Or what is the name of this kind of a phenomenon?
Mirror image, sir.
Sorry?
Mirror image.
Can you put it in the chat box? I'm not able to hear. So that is, it's called mirror image. Okay. So what I'm trying to say is, if you make a letter B in stand in front of a mirror like this, then you will see something like this. And this kind of a phenomenon is called as lateral inversion. Okay, it's called as lateral inversion. So plane mirror will always invert the image and show. Invert the way the object is there and show, but it is not upside down. The reason it is called as lateral inversion is because, see, if I keep my finger like this, it is not showing in this way. It is showing like this only. It is showing upright, but it is inverted. It is flipped. That's why we call it as lateral inversion. Sharia? Because we will be seeing something called as another inversion also. Inverted image. That's what we are going to see now. Don't get confused between both. So inverted image means if the object is upside, then the image will be in the downward direction. This is called as an inverted image. That's not the way a plane mirror forms. Sharia? So with the hope that you people are clear with the basics of this, I will move on to the next topic that is called as spherical mirrors. See, I told you, right, nothing is there in the textbook. See, with respect to a plane mirror, nothing is given. But questions can be asked. So, we'll be talking about the spherical mirrors. See, the best example of a spherical mirror, what you can think of is the spoon which you use to eat. So, if you take a spoon, generally, if you see, the base of the spoon is going to be like this, right? So you will have a curvature inside and you will have a bulged portion outside, right? So if suppose you take, if you have a spoon at your home, you can actually go and bring it. You go and see, you go and, I'll give you a minute time. If you want, you can go and bring your spoon and just observe what I'm trying to say. Try to get a bigger spoon. Okay? I know it will be available at everybody's place, right? Try and go and get it. Okay. So I hope you guys are back, right? So take that spoon. Okay. It should be in a good shape also, right? In the sense you should not have many scratches. Take that spoon and the bulge portion will be inside, right? Take that and try to see your face by keeping at different locations. What are you able to observe? Tell me. No? When you keep it very close, tell me if you are able to see your face.
Sir, it's inverted, sir.
You keep it very close and see. No? Are you able to see yourself?
Sir, it's very large, sir. The image formation is very large, sir.
It is very large, right? You cannot see your face. You try to bring it even more close. You try to keep it as close as possible so that you look at it without a strain. You can see that the size of the object is, size of the image is increasing. Is it happening? No, try to move it away. Tell me what is happening. Tell me the observation you guys are able to see.
It's a small inverted image, sir.
You are able to see inverted, right? That is, your face will be upside, and in that you will be able to see in the downward direction. Based on that only you are saying inverted, right? Am I right? So based on that only you are saying an inverted image. So near it is large, far it is small, correct? That's what is going to happen. We are going to prove it, okay? Next, turn it on the back side and keep the bulge surface at any point you want and see your face. And try to look at your face. Keep the bulge portion, keep it anywhere you want, and tell me what is that you are able to observe. So are you able to see yourself upright or downward?
Right, sir.
Upright in the sense, is it in the same direction, like your face is exactly appearing the same there?
Yes,
What are you
sir.
able to, is it straight?
Yes, sir.
Wherever you keep the object, or wherever you keep the spoon, are you able to see your complete face? Go and see, try all the permutations and combination. Are you able to see the complete face of yours? Everybody? Voice, no response.
Yes, sir.
What? So you got the spoon or not? You're simply saying yes, sir. Are you doing it?
Yes, sir, I got the spoon.
You got it right. Now tell me what is that you are able to observe. So you keep it anywhere you want. What is that you are able to observe? You are able to see your face completely anywhere you place it. The bulge portion like this. Look at the bulge portion, take it away, bring it close, take it away, bring it close. Do a small activity and see. What is that you are able to see?
Sir, I can see my full face, sir.
You are able to see the full face, right? As you keep moving away and close, you can see that the size is varying.
Yes, sir.
But still you can see the full face.
Yes, sir, I can see.
Yes. That is actually a virtual image. Harita, it's not a real image, right? It is a virtual image. Okay? So that's what we are going to prove. So this curvature inside is there, no? Like your ice cream scoop, from where you try to take the ice cream. That portion inside is what is called as the concave surface. Okay? And the bulged portion is what we call it as the convex surface. Okay? And the reason why these are called as spherical mirrors is because you can say the spoon, the shape of the spoon is there, right? That particular base. you can, if you try to draw a virtual image around it, if you try to complete, then you can say that this is a part of a sphere. Means your spoon, if you have, obviously you would have got a metallic spoon, not a plastic spoon, if I'm not wrong. So if you take that metallic spoon, if I think of a metal sphere, can I say that the spoon is actually carved from that metal sphere? A small portion of that metal sphere would have been taken. I can shape it inside and I take this as a mirror. Correct, Ada?
Yes, sir.
So I want you to visualize it, right? So if I take a sphere from which I try to cut and take a very small portion, okay? So I can cut it even here, so that I'll get a big portion like this. There is one approximation that we are doing, nobody tells you in your 10th standard. The mirror that you're taking should have the distance between the endpoint, the distance between the endpoints as small as possible. Okay, or else what will happen is you will find different kinds of images, you will find some errors. Those errors and all, we'll see it later, don't worry about it. Okay, all those are needed for these films and all those things. Okay, as of now, let's try to understand the basic. Okay, first important point I want you to have in mind is, from the sphere, if you're able to take a part of the curvature and have it separately, then the curvature will be like this. Both the sides are shining. Correct? So depending on which side you try to polish the surface. What do I mean by polish is, you take a paint and apply it on one of the sides. So if you're able to polish on the bulged side, then this kind of a mirror is called as a concave mirror. If you polish it on the side which is in the side which is having curvature inside, then this kind of a surface is called as a convex mirror. The reason why I call it as a mirror is because mirror is basically a reflecting surface with one side transparent and the other side opaque. You know what is opaque, right? Opaque is something which you can't see. So when you apply the polish, immediately it becomes an opaque surface. Guys, I hope it makes sense, right? So you are able to visualize it. Now, we are going to use the theory behind physics to understand what exactly happened when you try to move the spoon and try to observe your face in it. Okay. So before that, we need to understand certain terms associated with this, with these spherical mirrors. Shall we get started? Right? Shall we get started? Any doubt till this point?
No, sir.
Very good. Okay. Now listen to this. So the reflecting surface of a spherical mirror may be curved inwards or outwards. A spherical mirror whose reflecting surface is curved inwards is called that is, faces towards the center of the sphere is called as a concave mirror. A spherical mirror whose reflecting surface is curved outwards is called as the convex mirror. Okay. So I just want to introduce one more term. Okay, I'll tell you at that point. Anyways. So this is a concave mirror and this is a convex mirror. So you may now understand that the surface of the spoon curved inwards may be approximated to a concave mirror and the surface of the spoon bulged outwards can be approximated to a convex mirror. But before we move on to the specific topics, we need to understand few terms. These are called as the basic terminologies of a spherical mirror. Please write down the heading as basic terminologies of a spherical mirror. Okay. The first term that we need to see is called as the pole. Pole is generally represented by the symbol capital P. So pole is called as the center of the mirror. Okay, there is a confusion. Many people think that there is center of curvature. No, it is called as the center of the mirror. Let me explain what it means. So if I take a surface like this, and if I take a surface like this, okay, 1 minute. I take the surface like this. Okay. Now, for this mirror, you have the endpoints as AB. Okay. If there is a possibility where you can bend this mirror and make it as a straight line. Okay. So let's say the mirror is like this term. This is A, this point is B. Let's say I have the possibility of making it a straight line like this. Let's say it is elastic enough. So these 2 points will have a center. Where will that center be? That center also will be on the mirror only. So the center of the mirror, which is exactly the center of this point AB, is what we call it as pole. That is what I meant by center of the mirror. Purida? Am I clear? So a pole will lie on the mirror itself. This is pole. This is also a pole. So pole is represented by the symbol P. Second, there is something called as center of curvature. Center of curvature. So center of curvature is represented by the symbol capital C. Anybody who can tell me the definition of it? Aditi, can you try? It is, so obviously the name says center. It is the center of whom? It is center of the sphere. Okay, because I'm stressing on this point because I use the word center here also. This is the center of the mirror, so it will lie on the surface. It is the center of the sphere of which mirror is a part of. Okay, what I'm trying to say here is this concave, convex, concave, convex. Okay, so this concave mirror would have been derived in the sense it would have been made from a sphere, something which appears like this. This part is not there. That is why I'm using dotted lines. Here also, I'm going to use dotted lines. Okay. So for this sphere, there will be a center here. For this also, there will be a center here. Okay. This is what is called a center of curvature, and this point is called as the pole. So don't get confused between both. If these two are clear, the next points are very easy. Okay. Shall I proceed? Third. Third is called as the radius of curvature. That is represented by capital R. Can you guys guess? So radius means what? It is the distance between
Center of curvature and the mirror, sir.
you can say distance between center of sphere and any point on the surface. Any point is the distance between center of curvature. I will not say center of sphere, center of curvature and any point on the sphere or mirror, any point on the mirror. Seriya? So it is represented by the symbol capital R. So this distance is capital R. This distance is also capital R. Fourth, there is something called as principal axis. It doesn't have any symbol because it's axis. Axis is a straight line. So what is principal axis? It is an imaginary line. Okay, because you can't see this. It is an imaginary line joining the center of curvature and pole of the mirror. Seriya? It is an imaginary line joining the center of curvature and the pole of the mirror. Right or not? Okay. So how are we supposed to draw it? If I take a mirror, then blindly between the center of curvature and the point P, draw a line. Then this line is what we call it as principal axis. I hope that makes sense. Correct? Fifth, this is a very, very, very important thing that is called as principal focus or in simple terms, they just call it as focus. So principal focus is represented by the symbol capital F. Okay, this is very important, guys. Please make a note of it. How many of you know to use a camera? A DSLR. Have you ever checked when you take a photo in your mobile, whenever you try to put it in your laptop and try to observe the properties, right? There'll be something called as focal length associated with it. So all those things depend on how much amount of light your camera is allowing to enter it. Depends on the brightness of the room, darkness of the room, all those things. Okay. So that focus has something to do with this. So let's understand what a principal focus means. Okay. So with all the points in the mind, I'll ask you some basic questions, okay? I want you all to think and answer. Don't answer just like that. If suppose, see this pole, center of curvature, principal axis, and what is the nature of what is the mirror? What mirror is this? It's a concave mirror. Okay, and there's a principal axis. If I take a ray parallel to the principal axis, I repeat, if I take a ray parallel to the principal axis, then the object is said to be at infinity. Okay, the object is said to be at infinity. If I take a ray parallel to the principal axis, this is the point of incidence. So what did I say? Always at the point of incidence, what are we supposed to do? At the point of incidence, you should always draw a normal. Okay. So in the case of a plane mirror, drawing a normal was very easy because I will exactly keep the protractor at 90 degrees. I'll draw a straight line. Okay, my job is done. Whereas with respect to a curved surface, how are you going to draw a normal? Guys, are you able to understand my question? So what I'm trying to say is, if you have a line which is touching the curve, the spherical curve at one point, if you have this black color line, then what is the name of this black color line called as? What is the name of this black color line? Is it not called as a tangent? I hope you have heard this word. Not a new term, right? So tangent is a line which touches the curve only at one point. So if you are able to draw a line which is perpendicular to the tangent, then that line is called as normal. So normal for a curved surface is a line perpendicular to whom? Perpendicular to the tangent at that point. Are you guys able to understand? That is the first point. Second is normal to a spherical surface. So previously I told what is a curved surface. Curved can be any shape. It can be parabolic, it can be some random shape also. So normal to a spherical surface always passes through the center of curvature. So what I mean by the second point is, if you want to draw the normal for the spherical surface, then blindly you are supposed to do only one thing. That is, draw an imaginary line between the center of curvature and the point of incidence. Okay, then this will be the normal. Then what will this angle be called as? This is the angle of incidence. Guys are able to understand? Right?
Sir, can you explain again, sir?
Which point?
Sir, that normal ones.
See, normal to a spherical surface always passes through the center of curvature. Means, whenever you want to draw a norm, see, I explained all these things for you to understand what is normal. Every time you need not sit and do this. Okay. So, when you draw an incident ray, there will be a particular point where the incident ray and the mirror will meet. Correct? That point is called as the point of incidence. So at the point of incidence, your first job before you draw the reflected rays, you need to draw a normal. So with respect to a spherical mirror, what I'm trying to say is, from the point of incidence, just draw an imaginary line through the center of curvature. Then this line is what is called as the normal of the spherical surface. And from the definition, we know that the angle between the incident ray and the normal is what is the angle of incidence. Correct? So how should the reflected ray be? The reflected ray will make an equal angle with the normal and it will go. So what did I say for the ray which is coming? What did I say for the ray which is parallel to the principal axis? Where is the object placed? For a ray which is parallel to the principal axis, where is the object placed?
At infinity.
Infinity. Correct? So the object is placed at infinity means for that object we are trying to locate the image. So but I told you already, if you want to locate the image of an object, how many rays are minimum? You need
4.
2 incident rays and 2 reflected rays. So one of the incident rays I took parallel to the principal axis. The other incident ray, I will take it along the principal axis itself. Okay, when I take it along the principal axis, then the pole is the point of incidence. Right? So, how much is the angle of incidence here?
Zero.
Very
Sir,
good.
0.
0 because the pole and the center of curvature is going to form the normal also. Since the reflected ray will retrace its path. Correct? So it will retrace its path so that this reflected ray and this reflected ray meet at a point on the principal axis, and that point is what is called as the focus. You're able to understand? So from this only the definition actually comes into picture. The definition. Do you guys understand? So you have one reflected ray from the ray which is taken parallel to the principal axis, and one reflected ray along the principal axis itself. They both meet at a point, and that point is what we call it as the focus or the principal focus. Now, listen to this carefully. So how are we going to define the focus as? It is a point on the principal axis where the image of an object at infinity is formed. So what I'm trying to say is, let's say this is the size of the object which was at infinity. When you try to say, let's say there is a mirror which is 10 meters away from me. So with respect to that, the height of the object is very small, right? So though it has a finite size, where will the image of this be formed? If I treat this as the infinity for the mirror, I have it at a distance of 10 meters. The image will be formed at the focus, and that image will be a point-sized object. Means this pen will appear there as just a pink dot. That's it.
Sir, what does at infinity mean, sir?
Infinity means a greater distance.
Okay, sir.
It doesn't literally mean some other planet. It is some greater distance.
Okay, sir.
So this is what is called as the focus. Okay. And the last point for the day is focal length. Focal length, which is represented by the symbol smaller. So this is a distance which is represented in lowercase. So capital F is for the point and small f is for the distance. It is the distance between the pole and the focus. The distance between the pole and the focus is what we call it as the focal length. Correct. Right. So this is all about the parts of a spherical mirror. In the next class, what we will see is we will see the relations between them. And here, if you see, I drew only the ray diagram for a concave mirror. I'll show you how to find the focus for a convex mirror also. From there, things will be interesting because we'll be something called as sign convention and mirror formula. Then we'll go for the problems. With that, reflection is over. So by next class, reflection will be over. Maximum in 2 to 3 more classes, I'll try to complete refraction also. Okay. So I want you all to revise and come for the next class, or else it is going to get tough. Okay, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
See you all. So I'll see you all in the next class.
Thank you, sir. Bye, sir.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
sir.
sir.
Thank you, sir.